Hello and welcome. My name is Esther DeAngelis and this is my husband David DeAngelis. Hi, and the reason that we're here today is to look at some of the ideas that are covered in David's new book, The Guiding Principle. One simple truth that reveals the miracle of your life. Wouldn't you like to know some of that? So, really, let me give you just a brief background. Both of us have been involved in personal development and transformation for the last 25 years, really much of our adult life, which has meant studies of various spiritual and psychological disciplines, from Buddhist Vipassana to yoga to shamanic practices and healing to psychology, to NLP mastery, hypnotherapy, coaching, all of that side. So we really have embraced a huge gamut of personal development transformation work. And this has come out of that work. David has been the money shaman for the last 5 years, working with his partner Damien Sen. And they have been bringing really the idea of visionary business and transformation, looking at business in a different way, looking at business in terms of heart values, in terms of spiritual values, rather than always focusing on monetary values. And this book, I would say probably, and you'd agree with me, sort of come out of that journey. So let's begin, David, with where you got to this point. You wrote the book this summer. I know something profound happened in the summer of 2008. Would you like to begin by...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really interesting to look back on that now. You mentioned all those other things like the money shaman, which I'm still very passionate about and working with. Now, in the summer of 2008, I basically had an experience, a very powerful experience, a very powerful awakening experience, for want of a better way of saying it. People use that word often very flippantly, but this really did feel like it was a waking up to something very extraordinary about life. And really, in a nutshell, I mean, I talk about what happened a lot in the book, but to encapsulate what really happened was, I had this very, very powerful experience that, in a sense, dissolved this sense of there being a separation between myself and nature, myself and life. And much of all of my life, really, most of my adult life, as really much of most people's adult life, is tends, no matter what circumstances are happening, no matter what seems to go on in people's lives, especially in the West, there is this kind of background, ever-present tension, an uneasiness in the background. So even when things were going extraordinarily well, in the background there was always a kind of tension. And really this experience dissolved that background tension and had the in many ways the extraordinary effect of, once that was no longer there and I didn't feel separate from life and the world, I didn't view the world as a separate thing from me, I felt totally connected and interconnected with everything. But behind that kind of background of tension and discomfort was this kind of vast, amazing, miraculous presence that everything exists in. And that seemed to come much more to the foreground. And as a result of that, I really experienced life without that without that level of tension that had been in it. And it's almost, life became unrecognizable from as it was before. So in some respects there was a kind of a rebirth, it's very difficult to put it into words, but it felt like I was being born into a new life, and that life had a very very different quality and a very different characteristic from my old life.